All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah Bashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and who's worthy to be counted for double honors. And peace and salutations to you brothers out there pushing this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely and for the love of the gospel. All right, Brother Gabaria coming back out with you again with another sit down to talk about typology. All right, this is going to be a discussion about typology. All right, just basically, I'm doing a sit down about this. This is not the specific topic. I'm just gonna basically touch bases on typology. If you brothers want to go more into it, feel free. If you want to do a response video, if the spirit of the Lord puts it on you, do a response video. Most definitely, I would suggest one. But typology is basically as you see here, the etymology word that says the doctrine of types. All right, which it's like the doctrine of symbols, which the word symbols goes back to the word types. It says the doctrine of symbols, and basically what typology is, to give a brief summary about typology, is basically comparing, contrasting the Old Testament, the New Testament. All right, so basically what typology is basically like shows that the Old Testament basically the New Testament is nothing without the Old Testament. All right, so basically that goes into Scripture where it says the Lord said, He comes in the volume of the book. All right, in this specific study, which is typology, shows that the Old Testament foreshadows things that happen in the New Testament. All right, now that is a huge cut on people that says, I don't believe in the New Testament. Or it's like I don't believe in the Old Testament, or the Old Testament is done away with and we're in the New Testament. Well, using typology is the New Testament will be nothing without the Old Testament. Actually, it's some forms of in typology. It's actually some forms that they have that the New Testament, that we know about them too. But we just didn't have, we just basically go through the Spirit. But because basically that's all what typology is just basically Isaiah. There's a precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. That's what basically typology is. That's in a nutshell. It just basically compares because in typology they go as far as they say they compare Moses and Yahweh Shai as far as like what they were both born in Egypt. They were both escaping persecution of infant deaths. They were both given the laws. They both fasted for 40 days and 40, stuff like that. So they basically take that type of foreshadowing and compare it to the New Testament, showing that that the New Testament is right along with the Old Testament. Which that's exactly how it's supposed to be. So if a guy comes up here and said the Old Testament done away with, just ask him, well, do you believe in typology, or do you know the typology then? And if they like, oh no, what's that? You can go into it and everything. Like, what typology is basically the Old Testament foreshadows the New Testament. All right, as far as matter of fact, which is a example I'm gonna get into right now is where the Yahweh Shai was actually in the Old Testament. All right, he came back as far as Isaac, as Solomon, as Adam. He came back as an angel. As Melchizedek. He came back as different human beings and angels in the Old Testament. All right, just to show you that the Old Testament and the New Testament is right along. I'm doing enough talking. Let me just start hitting some facts. Now, I did say that symbols is actually another word for type. So when it says the doctrine of symbols, it actually means the doctrine of types. Because that wouldn't make sense if it says symbols and it is a doctrine of symbols when the word is typology, which we know the word ology means the study of. So let's look up the word type. The word type goes into what? You see the noun version says what? Symbol. All right, so the word symbol and type is the same thing. All right, but I don't really like I guess if you go into the first, the noun version, it gets a couple, like it says, in a figured image, form, or kind, which kind of gets, touches on the type. It says What else? Figure it says impression or mark. Um, it says to strike, beat, knock, push, strike, beat. The verb, it says what, to writing on a typewriter. It says to symbolize or to typify and to foreshadow. That's what I want to get there right there. It says what, to foreshadow. All right. So basically, typology is basically the foreshadowing, the study of foreshadowing. All right. Basically, what happens in the Old Testament, the New Testament is going to refer to it. All right. Foreshadowing what happened in the Old Testament. Because if you read in the New Testament, you had different prophets, different people quote things from the Old Testament. All right, like the eunuch that Philip ran up to in the chariot when he hopped on the chariot. Then you ran into the Ethiopian eunuch. You know that eunuch was reading the book in Isaiah, man. Matter of fact, specifically the 53rd chapter, man. You know, so it shows you that that's the foreshadowing of, and then of New Testament referring back to the Old Testament so much. So for you guys that's out there saying that the Old Testament is done away with, we don't have to follow by the Old Testament, or I don't believe in the Old Testament and I only strictly follow the New Testament. I mean, you guys are completely going off, man. All right, you are highly going off. All right, because the Old Testament and the New Testament are in the same book. All right, there's no such thing as Old and New Testament. All right, it's all within the same scriptures, man. That the Lord says, I come in a volume of the book. Matter of fact, I got that. And it's beautiful because this is written in Psalms, and guess what? It's reiterated in Hebrews, man. You know, if you look up in the volume of the book, it's just gonna pull a precept in Psalms. It's gonna be pull up a precept in Hebrews, man. You know, just to show you that, boom, in the Old Testament and New Testament, written the same exact thing, man. All right, and this is not just that scriptures; it's many scriptures, man. I think Yahweh Shah quoted Yahweh Shah quoted. I even think he said, "Isn't written in your law," but it was written in Psalms where it says, "Ye are gods," or something like that. You know, matter of fact, after it says, this is Psalms chapter 40 verse 7. It says, then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book, and it is written of me. All right, so it didn't give a specific a chapter. It didn't give a specific testament. It didn't give a specific book. It just said, I am come in a volume of the book. What book is that talking about? The Bible, man. It says, and it is written of me, which the whole Bible is written of Yahweh Shah, man. You know, because he is the word. As far as John, 1 John 1:1 says, this is what the word was written, and it was made flesh. You know, and the word was with God, and the word was God. You know. So this whole entire Bible is written of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, man. All right. Yeah, man. So it says it was written of Yahweh Shah, man. So that means therefore Yahweh Shah is mentioned in the Old Testament and definitely in the New Testament, man. You know. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get just to prove that Yahweh Shah was King Solomon and Isaac. This is Matthew chapter 1 verse 1. It says, the book of the generation of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, the son of David, which who was the son of David? Solomon. And the son of Abraham. Who was the son of Abraham? Isaac, man. That's a pure cut example of who's and it's no coincidence. And they didn't just put those two people in as a coincidence and saying, what's it called? That's not talking about Yahweh Shah was Isaac and Solomon, which we can prove through the scriptures that he was, man. That's not no coincidence, man. You know, this scripture right here is just a further edification. It's a precept to go with the knowledge, you know, because it was a clear example, and we did understand reincarnation back in the ancient world too, because when Yahweh Shah came to I forgot the name of that island. They named it something. Start with a C, I believe. Caprihana. The name of the island was Caprihana, I believe. I can't think of exactly what's the name of it, but it was Cap or something. But when Yahweh Shah came into the island, Yahweh Shah asked the disciples and said, "Who do these people think I am?" And then his disciples just start naming prophets, saying, "Oh, some think you're Isaiah, some think you're Jeremiah, some think you're this, or you're one of the prophets." But they was like, "Man, we know you got to be somebody back in the reincarnation, you know." But they understood reincarnation, though. That was the whole gist of that point, man. You know, that they understood, us back in the ancient world understood that reincarnation was a thing, man. That we knew that a prophet could come back in instead, man. You know, or we knew prophets that was back then are now are walking around among us, man. All right. So uh, 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 yeah, that's basically all I had on typology. I just seen it and was interested because first of all I've never heard of it, and I know ology is the study of, and I just really didn't understand it. I'm like, wow, what does this mean? What is this? Is it a doctrine? Is it a false doctrine? So when I went more into it, and they basically explained it when I watched a few videos on it, and they explained typology for being more of a foreshadowing of the Old Testament to the New Testament. As a matter of fact, through the Spirit and Power of Yahweh Shem Yahshua, they got this one guy explaining it a little bit more better than I can. And Lord willing, I'm probably gonna re-upload his video. He does go off. You have to pick the meat from the bones of it. He does go off on a couple points, but I believe it explains typology a little bit more better than I can. So Lord willing, through this video, after this video, I can go ahead and download the video and upload that video next. Yeah. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and prove that Yahweh Shai was the men that I mentioned, man. Starting with Isaac first. All right. It says this is Genesis chapter 18 verse 1. It says, and the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamariah. It says, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, it says, and three men stood with him, by him, Slakia. It says, when he saw them, he ran unto them, and from the tent door, and bowed himself towards the ground, and said, my Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, for I am thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourself unto the tree. All right, and I'm gonna skip down basically to the point. I'm just gonna go to verse 9. This verse 9, it says, and they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, and it says, and he said, behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return. It says what? I will certainly, without a shadow of a doubt, return unto thee according to the time of life. Which means what? Into the time of that child's to be born. It says what? It says, and lo, Sarah thy wife will have a son. It says, and Sarah heard it, and in the tents, and was behind him. All right, so that's basically the point right there. That Pacific angel, which was Yahweh shot through the Spirit, it says what he said. It says he said, I will certainly return. So he told Abraham that he said, I will return. As what? As that baby that Sarah is gonna conceive. That's the baby I'm going to return back into. And it's not just mentioned here. It's also mentioned in what's it called? In Romans, the ninth chapter, I believe. 99 exactly, I think. Yeah, kind of. This is Romans chapter 9, verse 9. It says, for this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. Yeah, see? So it was reiterated back in the New Testament, man. It says what? It says, at this time will I come, and Sarah, it says what? And Sarah shall have a son. All right? And that's what he said. But the point was that what? It says that at this time will I come, When Sarah has that son. That's the time Yahweh Shai said he was going to come, man. As who? As Isaac, man. So that's a pure cut example of not only reincarnation, but of Yahweh being Isaac, man. You know, and it says even what where's it at? Where's it at? I can see one even better. Okay, yeah, right. I'm going to go to verse 8. Verse 8. Skip up on verse 8. It says, that is, which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God. All right, which is talking about Ishmael and his children. It says, but the children of the promise, which says what? It says, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. All right, who's the children of the promise, man? Isaac, man. Because it says what? Through Isaac thy seed shall be called, man. All right, so that's talking about Isaac and the Israelites, man. All right, but it's talking about, but I'm referring to what Yahweh Shai being called, being Isaac, man, being that child of promise. All right. Um. Oh yeah, basically, yeah. That was it to that proving Yahweh Shai was Isaac. Now I'm proving Yahweh Shai was King Solomon, man. You know, also through reincarnation. This is 1 Samuel chapter 7 verse 1. I believe this is it. I'm gonna get straight to the point. I'm gonna tell my servant. I'm getting straight to the point now. That shall say to my servant David, thus said the Lord, I will take it, and I will come. Moreover, I will anoint a place of my people. Since the time I commanded you, thou shalt sleep. Okay, yeah, here it goes. I'm gonna get verse 12. This is Second Samuel chapter 7 verse 12. It says, and when thy days be fulfilled, it says, and thou shalt. This is when thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, which means King David is going to die. It says, I will set thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, out of thy bowels. It says, and I will establish his kingdom. See, it says what? I shall establish his kingdom. He shall build a house of my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. All right, now who is this talking about? It's talking about Solomon. All right, let's get more into it. It says I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men. All right, now let's think back. You know, when King Solomon came upon the planet of Earth, man. Did King Solomon ever get beaten with the rod of men or got chastised with the stripes of men? No, he was not. King Solomon never did. You know. When did King Solomon, when did King Solomon suffer that punishment? When he came back as Yahweh Shai. That, matter of fact, that was the reason why. That was part of the reason why. Because that wasn't the only reason why. There was multiple reasons why Yahweh Shai went through what he went through. But that was part of the reason why he he got beaten with the rod of man. He got crucified, man. All right. I'm not gonna get into every single reason why, but that was one of the reasons why Yahweh Shai went through what he went through, man. Because what it says, let's read it over. It says, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. It says, if he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of men with the stripes of the children of men. What's that talking about, man? That's talking about being beaten, man. Now, King Solomon, it was never written that King Solomon ever got beaten. But guess what? It is written when King Solomon did go off and serve other gods. So what? He did commit iniquity. King Solomon did commit iniquity. But he didn't receive that judgment until what? He became unto Yahweh Shai. Thus what proves King Solomon is Yahweh Shai in the reincarnation. Because King Solomon did commit iniquity, but what? He did not suffer his punishment until he came into Yahweh Shai. Also proves in what? Yahweh Shai does not care about death. He will get you when he gets you. So if you wasn't punished in that lifetime, best believe in your later lifetime you will get your just due. The Lord's not slack concerning his promise, man. If he says, hey, if you commit iniquity, you shall surely die. Guess what? You might not suffer in that specific body, but guess what? You will hold account to. You will hold credit where credit is due, man. All right. If you're gonna come back as Paul, if you're gonna be, and I'm just using names. I'm not actually talking about specific people. If you was Paul and you commit iniquity and you died off, and if you come back as Bill, or you come back as Dante, or you come back as Jose, and guess what, man? Whichever one of bodies you come back in, man, you will get punished, man. All right, you will get your just due, man. Okay, so that proves that what Yahweh Shai was King Solomon, man. All right. Now, this is Isaiah chapter 53, verse 1. It says, "Who hath believed our report, and who hath it says, and who it says, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him." It says, "If he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of the dry ground, he hath no form of comeliness." It says, and we shall see him, there is no beauty that we shall desire him. It says, "He is despised and rejected of men, and of man," it says, and of men of sorrows, and acquaintances with grief." It says, "And we have and we it says, and we have it says, and we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he hath borne our grief and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Yahweh, and afflicted." Now, if you can't tell who this is talking about by now, it's talking about Yahweh Shai and what he went through. But why is Isaiah talking about it? Like, thus for he was there witnessing it, because Isaiah was prophesying about what was to come. All right, that's another reason why Yahweh Shai had to get up on the cross, because it was prophesied that he must go through that. All right, through the prophet Isaiah right now. You know, it says what? It says, "Surely he hath borne our grief and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Yahweh, and afflicted." It says, but he was wounded for our transgressions, and he was bruised for our iniquity. It says, "The chastising of peace was upon him, and the stripes the stripes we are healed." Oh, that's beautiful, because that goes right back into to what? The Samuel. It says what? "The chastising of men, and the stripes of the chastising of the rod of men, and the stripes of the children of men." All right, and what it says here, it says what? "The chastising of peace was upon him, and with his stripes was healed." All right, so basically that proves exactly who's King Solomon, man. You know, King Solomon was Yahweh Shai, because Yahweh Shai says it right here, that this specific passage is prophesying about Yahweh Shai, and it says what? The chastising of the peace, and the stripes of the healing, man. You know, exactly what was prophesied on King Solomon if you went off, man. You know, it says, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one of his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to slaughter, and as a sheep before the shepherd is dumb. He opened not his mouth, and it says, so he opened not his mouth. All right, and that's exactly what the eunuch was reading at this point in time, man. And that's when Philip started preaching to him about Yahweh Shai, man, because he was telling the eunuch that this was Yahweh Shai he was talking about. You know, he was talking about Yahweh Shai. You know, he was talking about what he went through. You know, because you remember, eunuch. It says he was a eunuch from Ethiopia, so he was probably raised as a heathen. You know, but through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, Philip understood that he was a confusion of faith because he was an Israelite, even though he was born an Ethiopian. You know, but through the spirit, he was a confusion of faith, and he was an Israelite. All right, because he had the zeal on him. You know. And he was reading the book of Isaiah, man. You know, it says he was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. All right, I'm gonna read one more verse in a minute at that. It says, and he was made in his grave with the wicked. Did I skip one? You know, it says he made his grave with the wicked, and with the rich of his death, because he hath done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. All right, and that's beautiful right there, because it says what? Neither, it says neither was any deceit in his mouth. You know, and now we know who that's talking about. It's talking about Yahweh Shah. Now, thus it says what? We shall follow Yahweh Shah. And it says in Revelations, where it says what? The lamb, they said they shall follow the lamb whitherso he is goeth. You know, so if they following the lamb and they're following Yahweh Shah, which that was talking about the elect. So wouldn't the elect preach 100% of the truth? You know, and since they're following the lamb and there was no deceit found in the lamb's mouth, how is any deceit going to be found in the elect's mouth? You know. So for you guys out there saying, "Oh, y'all so proudful," y'all say y'all got 100% of the truth. That's prideful. No, that's not proudful, man. Because the scripture says what? There was not they shall be found without a lying tongue, and no guile was found in their mouth. Thus, Yahweh Shah said there was no deceit found in his mouth, and he says what? His sheep hear his voice, and they shall follow him wherever he go. You know. So that means somebody on this planet Earth is teaching 100% true, correct doctrine, man. All right. And through the spirit of power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, I believe that is the men of GMS, man. Starting with Apostle Tahar on down, man. You know? I believe that's the men of GMS, man. That's teaching 100% truth, man. All right? Because looking at you other guys, man, you definitely not. Come on now, man. I'm not going to get into what type of shit I've been hearing into, but God, man. You know? The type of doctrines you be hearing out there, man, it would lead you in complete madness, man. All right? So, yeah, typology is basically, you know, foreshadowing of the Old Testament into the New Testament. You know, that's basically all it is, you know, a foreshadowing that the Old Testament lines completely up with the New Testament, man. Now, Esau gets technical with it, you know, of like, oh, it's not typology if the same event doesn't happen in the Old Testament if it did in the New Testament. Like they try to compare Moses and Yahweh Shah because they had so many events compared to, they call that typology. But we understand typology as far as like the New Testament and the Old Testament is one hand in hand together. All right. It's nothing different. All right. The Lord says when he come in the volume of the book, it is written of him. All right. So thus the Old Testament is going to coincide with the New Testament, man, and vice versa, man. Actually, the scripture said in John, it says, what? I write no new commandment unto you, but an old, man, you know, that you had from the beginning. All right. So the New Testament doesn't bring no new commandments as far as like, oh, thou shalt not eat pork, but I say thou shalt eat pork. Or like they try to use, they say when Peter saw the skirt of heaven, they said, call not thou what unclean what the Lord have made clean. Like, no, man, I was talking about the Gentiles, all right? I was talking about Israelite foreigners, you know? They was born in those lands that they were filthy and they was defiled, but now they're trying to be coming back into the Israelites. So they were once unclean, but the Lord had made them clean, just like we were. We were black, we were Latinos, we were Native Americans. You know, now we're coming into what? We're Judah, we're Benjamin, we're Levi, we're Gad, we're Issachar, we're Zebulun, we're Asher, we're Naphtali, we're Simeon. You know, we're becoming now the 12 tribes of Israel, man. All right? So we were all once filthy, but now we're coming into the clean, man. The Lord has made us clean. All right. It says in the book of Daniel, it says, what? The Lord many shall be tried and made white, but the wicked shall do wickedly, man. All right. We're being tried right now. Not refined, but we're being tried. And Lord willing, we'll be refined when he comes back, man. All right. But that's basically all I had, Lord willing. I hope this video was edifying for you brothers out there. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah, Bashem, Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and who is worthy to be counted for double honors. And peace and salutations to you brothers out there pushing this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely and for the love of the gospel. All right. With that, shalom.